Okay, today I'm going to be teaching you how to write expressions. Now, expressions are just a big word for a number sentence that involves variables. And, you know, a simple word for a variable is a letter that stands for a number. So an expression, for example, would be like 3x plus 1, which you've probably seen since 7th grade. That's an expression. It's a add, subtract, multiply. It's a number operation with a variable involved. Big word for an expression. Now, one thing that's special about expressions is they're not equal to something. You'll never see an equal sign when it's an expression, because if it's equal to something, say 2, then now that's an equation because it's equal to something. So expressions don't have equal signs. Okay? All right, so today we're going to talk about expressions, like I said, and before we get started, we need to know a lot of terminology. When we're dealing with expressions, the most important thing to know is the words. The words sum, plus, more than, increase by, and total all mean addition. The words for multiplication, product, times, multiply by, of. That's an important one. When you see the word of, it's almost always multiplication. And twice, if I say twice as much, that means times 2, right? So it is multiplication. Difference, minus, less than, decrease by. Quotient, divide by, divided into, half. You won't see a lot of these other ones. You might see divided by. You definitely will see quotient. But most of these for division, you won't typically see. So let's go through each one first. So if I said the sum, or if I said the word product, or if I said the word difference or quotient, these ones are very important. These four here, sum, difference, product, and quotient, these are by far the most important ones here. Okay? And let me go off to the side for a few minutes and explain this to you. If I had the word sum of 3 and 5, what I need you to do from now on, when you see the word sum, when you see the word difference, when you see the word product, when you see the word quotient, what I want you to do is think invisible parentheses. So if I see sum of 3 and 5, what I want you to do in your mind is think, well, the 3 and the 5 are in a parentheses, and sum means add, so you're adding 3 plus 5. It's like an invisible parentheses. The word and separates the two parts that you're doing the math with. So if it said 3 and 5, it would be 3 plus 5. 3 and x, it would be 3 plus x. So the word and separates the two things that are in the parentheses. Same thing for difference. Difference of 6 and 2. Well, that means, difference means subtract 6 minus 2. And there would be an invisible parentheses there. Now, if I said the difference of 2 and 6, that would be different. When you write the word sum, difference, product, quotient, you have to write them in the order that they say. So if I said difference of 6 and 2, it'd be 6 minus 2. But if I said difference of 2 and 6, then it's 2 minus 6, which is a very different answer. This is 4, this is negative 4. So keep that in mind. When you use those words, the order matters. Whatever it says first is what you write first. Okay? Same thing for product and quotient. If I said the product of 4 and 2, well, that would be 4 times 2. And like I said, it would probably be in a parenthesis. All right? If I said the product of 2 and 4, then it would be 2.4. Okay? Quotient of 15 and 1, well, that's 15 divided by 1. Okay? So those are the 4 words that are probably the most important here. And it took me a long time of teaching before I realized how important these words were. Because when you use these words, you're basically saying parentheses. So keep that in mind. I wish the students that I taught many years ago would have learned that lesson the way I've started to understand it recently. But keep that in mind. Sum, difference, product, quotient, parentheses. Okay? All right, so let's go back to the problem here. So all these words mean add, all these words mean subtract, all these words mean multiply and divide, and obviously I spelled multiplication wrong, but I'm a math teacher, so what do you expect? Let's go to an expression. So if I said the sum of a number and 3, okay? Now, when I see the word number, I want to make up a number for that. So I'm going to use n. Anytime they say a number, and they don't tell me what that number should stand for, I'm going to use n. So I'm basically saying the sum of n and 3. Now remember, the word sum means add, and it's one of those special ones because it's basically saying a parentheses, you're going to do these together. And the word and is the key to these kind of problems because it tells you what two things you're adding. The sum of a number and 3 is basically n plus 3. And that's really it. That's all you're writing there. Real simple. All right? Next problem. Half of a number, what's half mean? Well, it means divide by 2. Half of a number, so what are you taking half of? Well, some number. Let's call that number n. So you're taking half of it. So you're dividing it by 2 plus 6. Okay? Pretty simple. All right, now let's spend some time here. 10 less than a number. Let's say, if I said, let's say 2 less than 5. So if I said 2 less than 5, all right, what does that mean? Well, the question you have to ask yourself is this 2 minus 5, or is this 5 minus 2? And it's a really logical way to figure out what it is. What are you starting with? Are you starting with 2 or are you starting with 5? And if you think about it for just a second, you're starting with 5. And you're getting 2 less than that. So it's actually 5 minus 2. Be very careful with this. 2 less than 5 means you're taking 2 away from the 5. You're starting with 5 and you're taking 2 away. So it's this one, 5 minus 2. Okay? So be careful with those because a lot of people will reverse those sometimes. All right, so if I have 10 less than twice a number, well, twice a number means times 2. So the question is it 10 minus 2n, or is it 2n minus 10? Well, what am I starting with? Am I starting with 10 and then taking twice a number less, or am I starting with twice a number and then taking away 10? If you think about it for a minute, you're taking 10 away from this. So you're starting with 2n, because twice a number means 2 times. And remember, a number, so we're going to call that number n. And you're taking 10 away from it. So 2n minus 10. All right. Example 4. 6 more than 5 times a number p. Well, what most people will do, if I say 6 more than 3, 6 more than 3, is that 6 plus 3, or is that 3 plus 6? Now, I know most of you would probably argue, well, they're the same thing. 6 plus 3 and 3 plus 6 are the same thing. But it does matter in mathematics, okay? So we need to understand which one this is. Are you starting with 6, or are you starting with 3? Well, in this case, you're starting with 3 because you're getting 6 more than what you started with, 3. So in this case, it's 3 plus 6. Let me say that again. You're getting 6 more than the 3 that you already had. You started with 3, and you get 6 more, so it's 3 plus 6. Okay? So let's do this one. 6 more than 5 times the number p. Well, am I starting with 6, or am I starting with 5p? Well, I'm starting with 5p, and I get 6 more, so it's 5p plus 6 more. Okay? Hope that makes sense to you. All right. Now the fun one. The sum of x and 7. Well, there's that parentheses, right? The sum of x and 7 divided by 2. What am I adding together? X and 7 is what I'm adding. So it's going to be x plus 7. And then I'm going to divide by 2. Now the question you have to ask yourself why this problem's hard is, am I dividing the x by 2 or the 7 by 2? And that's what you have to ask yourself. What am I dividing by 2? Well, most people would say 7 divided by 2. But the correct answer, if you think about it for a minute, is I'm dividing that entire thing by 2. So it's over 2. You could have also written it like this, x plus 7 in parentheses divided by 2. But remember what I said earlier, when you see that word sum, difference, product, quotient, you should probably be thinking parentheses. And like I said earlier in the other lesson on order of operations, fraction bars is like invisible parentheses. All right? So be very careful with this. I threw this in there on purpose. All right, next problem, example 6. This one is a little bit trickier, in my opinion. And I don't have room here, so I'm going to do it off to the side here. All right, so it says a product of 3 plus a number p. Okay, so most of us would probably say, well, 3 plus a number p is 3 plus p. So remember what I said earlier when I said the product, that's one of those special words, and you have to find the and statement. So there's the and statement, right? What two things are being multiplied? Well, whatever's separated by the and. So this and this are being multiplied. So 3 plus p is being multiplied by 7. Now, some of you would have written it like this, 3 plus p times 7, and that's actually wrong, because if you think order of operations, only the 7 is being multiplied by p, and you want the whole thing being multiplied by 7. So you want the parentheses around the 3 plus p. All right? So this is the correct answer. All right. Last section. These don't take long to do at all. The number of days in 3 weeks. All right? So what I want to do in 3 weeks is call that W, right? And we're going to change this 3 to W. I remember that before. Every year I've wanted to change those notes, and every year I forget to. So let's change this problem from 3 weeks to in W weeks. Okay? So change it on your notes, please. So the number of days in W weeks. Now, when you do a problem like this, you just got to be careful for a minute and ask yourself, is it going to be 7 times W or W divided by 7? Does the number of days equal 7 times the number of weeks, or does it equal the number of weeks divided by 7? That's probably the two options that you'd come with, and you're not sure which one it is. All right? So here's what I would do if I were you. If I come to this problem, what I would do is I'd make up a number for W. Let's say 2 weeks. Well, how many days are in 2 weeks? 14. So which one of these makes sense then? Well, if I put a 2 in here, 2 divided by 7 is 2 sevenths, so that's not going to make sense. 2 times 7 is 14. Ah, there it is. That one cannot be right. It's the first one that's right. Okay, 7W. Real easy. The number of people on X buses if each bus holds 30 people. Well, if you're not sure, what do I do? Do I divide? Do I multiply in this case? Make up a number. Let's say there's 2 buses. If there's 2 buses, how many people? 60. What'd you do? You multiplied it. You multiplied the number of buses times 30. So instead of 2 buses, let's say there's X buses. What are you going to do? X times 30. X times 30 is fine right now, but it's better to write 30X. Numbers before letters. Okay? Next problem. The amount spent on B bananas if each banana costs 25 cents. So most of you would probably write this, 25B. And that could be right, but you have to ask yourself, what's that answer going to give me? Is that going to give me how much money I'm spending? No, that's going to give me how many cents I'm spending. So 25B, if there was 2 bananas, it'd be 50. 50 what? 50 cents? $50? What? Well, 50 cents. So what I really need here is the decimal. So 0.25B, you can add the 0 there, 0.25B. All right, last problem. The number of hours in 120 minutes. Like I said earlier, we're going to change these up, and hopefully I'll catch this on your notes before I give them to you this year. But let's change the 120 to M, okay? All right, so the number of hours in M minutes. Now, when you do this problem, you're probably down to either 60M or M over 60 And a few of you might pick 60 over m. One of those three. Is it 60 times m? Is it m over 60? Is it 60 over m? And if you're in my class right now, we'd look at this problem together, and people would be picking all three of these. So the question is, which one is right? If you're not sure what to do, make up a number for m. So let's say m is 120 minutes. So instead of being m, let's say it was 120. It's not, but let's just say it was. Well, to figure out how many hours, would I do 60 times 120? Well, that's ridiculous. That's like, oh, I don't know, 7,000 hours? That's not going to work. 120 divided by 60. Well, 120 divided by 60 is 2. Ah, that would work. 2 hours is 120 minutes. Look at the last one. 60 over 120 is a half. So 60 minutes is a half of an hour. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work. It has to be m over 60. So what's the key to these type of problems? Put a number in there, and it usually makes a lot of sense. All right? Let's summarize real fast. Remember, the key to these types of problems is realizing that sum, difference, product, quotient means invisible parentheses. And be careful with the wording sometimes, just like here. 10 less than a number is not 10 minus a number, it's a number minus 10. I cannot stress you enough, if you mess up here, it's going to be because of simple things like that. Try to use common sense, and it's not going to be that hard. Good luck.